close your eyes down and begin taking some nice, deep breaths. And we'll hang out here for a little while doing some nice, deep breathing. And I look at this as an opportunity to just let go. Let go of anything that's happened so far today or anything coming up later. Maybe you'd like to imagine breathing all of those things away, allowing yourself to take this time free of all of that. Breathing away any obligations or responsibilities. Breathing away any incomplete tasks or anything that's been on your mind. Those things can all wait. And often when we take a break away from them for a little while, we can go back to them with renewed energy, enthusiasm, and ideas. And so for now, just breathing it all away, letting yourself take this time free of all of that. And now just turn your attention to any sounds that you can pick up on, still continuing to take nice, deep breaths, but turning your attention to any of the sounds in your environment. By taking some time off the top to observe those sounds, you'll find that as we progress into the session, you're able to just leave those sounds in the distance without them interfering. And so noticing whatever those sounds are. Listening for the obvious ones, but also listening underneath or behind those sounds for anything subtle, anything distant, whatever you can observe. And once you've listened to the sounds that are actually taking place, take some time to consider, when I'm quiet, any additional sounds that could happen while we're in session. What are the sounds that are normal or expected for your environment that could occur as we progress forward? Now, by taking some time off the top to listen to sounds that are taking place and to think about ones that might, you'll find that you're nicely able to leave any of the sounds in the background, able to focus on my voice and your own experience, and let everything else be unimportant for now. Now, continuing to breathe deeply, just take some time to get a sense of the room that you're in. Now, I know that you know what this space looks like, but by getting a sense of the space with your eyes closed, it requires you to use your memory or imagination, both of which reside in your subconscious mind. And so this simple exercise can sort of draw your subconscious forward. And so take some time to get a sense of the size or shape of the room. Get a sense of the layout of any furniture in this space. Get a sense of where you are in relation to the furniture. Or tune in to something more subtle. Is there a fragrance or series of fragrances in the room? What is the temperature like in here right now? Just noticing the space, getting familiar with it, and as you do, settling in deeper still. And now bringing your attention within yourself and locating your center, wherever that seems to be. We're taking your attention away from the external world and placing it on your internal one. And this is, in a sense, to signify to your subconscious that we're going inside now, away from the external world and into your inner one. Hypnosis is all about your internal world, your habits, beliefs, behaviors, emotions, reactions, triggers. And when we work on our internal world, it changes how we are in the external one, or how we perceive the external one. And so for now, just observing your center. Where is it located? Does your center feel calm and quiet, or is there movement, activity? Does your center seem to be deep within your body, or is it closer to the surface? And there's no right or wrong answers to these questions. We're just observing. And letting your attention shift now from your center all the way back to your breathing. And just letting your attention rest there for a little while, noticing what it feels like to breathe. Maybe noticing the rise and fall of your chest with an inhale and an exhale. Maybe noticing a little sound that your breathing makes. Maybe noticing the difference in temperature from when you breathe in to when you release the breath. Just noticing whatever you notice as you focus on your breathing. And find one thing about your breathing that you can hold your attention on, a focal point for your awareness. And as well as you can, for as long as you can, just keep your attention there. Now, people go into hypnosis, they access deeper levels of their mind when they get focused on something. Just the act of finding something about your breathing to focus on and then holding your attention there is enough to get you into a state where you can make contact with your subconscious. And so in a moment, I'm going to be quiet. And I'm going to be quiet for quite some time. In that quiet time, just stay as well as you can focused on your breathing. And I'm sure there will be times along the way when your mind will want to wander or drift, and that's okay. When that happens, just notice that it's happened, and then bring your attention back once again to your breathing. Letting go of everything else and just attending to your breathing. Doing that now while I'm quiet. I'd like you to imagine that your emotions are represented by a large beach ball. This may seem like an odd thing to get you to envision, but come along with me. This is going to go somewhere. Imagine the beach ball that represents your emotions in the space in your mind. This beach ball is colorful and light and buoyant. It represents a wide range of emotions, including joy, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety, even more. Now maybe you imagine that you're playing with that beach ball. Maybe you're in the water tossing it around. Maybe you're rolling it along the sand at a beach. But imagine yourself playing with that beach ball. Wouldn't it be great if we could approach our emotions in such a lighthearted way? Wouldn't it be great if our emotions were just a fun plaything, so to speak? Unfortunately, we don't always look at our emotions that way. People are kind of funny. We like to feel good, we don't like to feel bad, and so when we feel bad, we often try to shove that feeling down. It's kind of like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. We push and push to keep that beach ball submerged in order to attempt to feel better. We may also have a tendency to try to keep that beach ball submerged if we grew up in an environment where there was no place for us to express our emotions. This can happen when we have parents who are uncomfortable with emotions themselves. Typically, that comes from them having their own emotional trauma. If somebody hasn't processed their own emotions, they may find it difficult to be around somebody who is expressing theirs. We can end up pushing that beach ball down if we do express emotions, but other people tell us that we need to process them on our own, that our emotions aren't accepted, that our emotions are not wanted. Often emotions get a bad rap. We can sometimes be taught that it's weak to experience or express emotions, that it's unbecoming or unattractive to express certain emotions. We might be taught that we need to manage our emotions on our own and not expect other people to help with them. We might also learn to push that beach ball underwater if we express what we need, but it falls on deaf ears. If other people don't respond to us the way we needed them to, we may learn that other people aren't going to respond to us, so why bother? This can also happen if we feel that by sharing our emotions with other people, we'll be burdening them. This can happen if we grow up in an environment where there's a lot of chaos or somebody else takes up a lot of space. As a result, we may feel there's no space for our emotions, and that expressing them will just add to the chaos in our homes. We might burden other people with our emotions or our needs. We may also learn to suppress emotions if we feel some strong emotion early on in our lives, before we're at the age where we can understand them, express them, or process them. We may learn to push that beach ball down if we've tried to express emotion or we've tried to express our needs, but it didn't get the result we were looking for, and maybe it even backfired. It's important to remember that the subconscious works by association. And so, if for any reason the subconscious attaches a negative association to expressing emotion, we will attempt to push that beach ball down. We'll see emotions as a negative thing and attempt to suppress them. In any of these circumstances, when faced with challenging emotions, we may decide to suppress them. I wonder if you can relate to any of the examples I've given you. I wonder if there were times when you've tried to grapple with an emotion, but it was just too big, and so you shoved that beach ball underwater. Were there times where there was no space or openness to have your emotional needs met? Nobody else who could attend to them? Were there times where there was somebody else who required more than you did, and so you learned not to express or even acknowledge your emotions? There may have been situations in your life that taught you that your emotions weren't welcome, and so you pushed those emotions away. Again, this is akin to trying to push that beach ball underwater. Initially, it takes a lot of energy and effort to keep the beach ball down. You use your strength and your willpower to try to submerge it. However, just like the beach ball under the water, your repressed emotion is looking for a release. It's pressing against your efforts to keep it hidden. If you momentarily let up or lose control, that emotion can come bursting out with equal force in the opposite direction. I personally think this is sometimes why people experience road rage or cry at a touching commercial. That feeling is looking for a release, and it will take any opportunity it can find. The act of repressing emotions, especially those related to frustration, irritation, perceived injustices, can contribute to anger. Just as the beach ball shoots out when you release it underwater, repressed emotions can erupt when you momentarily lose control. This can lead to sudden outbursts of anger or irritation, which could be directed at people or situations unrelated to the original emotion. And so I'm going to respectfully suggest to your subconscious that it find another way to deal with your emotions. Emotions are not the enemy. Emotions are valuable feedback from our physical system, and trying to shove them down underwater doesn't get rid of them. What we don't deal with just waits for us. What we want is to be able to process our emotions in a safe and healthy way, to be able to be with our emotions, to be able to receive the feedback from our physical system. Let me give you more on that. I like to think that our emotions are similar to the indicators on the dashboard of a vehicle. There's an indicator that lets you know when you need to fuel up. There's an indicator that lets you know when you're running low on oil. There's an indicator that lets you know when you need new windshield wiper fluid or how quickly or slowly your vehicle is moving. We don't look at these indicators as good or bad. They're just feedback from the vehicle. They're useful. I don't care how cheap they made the vehicle. If there was a vehicle that didn't come with these indicators, it wouldn't be very popular. How safe would you feel driving down the road not knowing if you were about to run out of fuel or have your engine seized up for lack of oil? These indicators are useful. They let us know what we need to pay attention to so that we can prevent a bigger problem. If we don't respond when the gas gauge lights up by putting in fuel, we end up stranded on the side of the road. If we don't put in oil when that light lights up, we end up with our engine seized up. If we don't put in windshield wiper fluid, there comes a time when our windshield is so dirty we can't see forward. And so these indicators are valuable feedback from the vehicle, each with their specific call to action, and each designed to prevent us from having future problems. Our emotions are exactly the same. They're just feedback from our physical vehicle, letting us know what it is we need to pay attention to so that we can prevent bigger problems. For example, frustration is not a bad thing. It's an indication that what we're doing isn't working and we need to try a different approach. If we understand that, if we can recognize what call to action frustration is asking us to take, then we can try a different approach, find a better way, and the emotion goes away. Once we put fuel in the tank, the indicator that was reminding us that we needed to fuel up shuts off. And so when we recognize the call to action that the emotion was asking us to take, the emotional indicator shuts off. Once we fuel up our vehicle, the indicator that was letting us know that we needed more fuel shuts off. When we just try to shove the beach ball underwater, the emotion persists, and we use up a lot of strength and energy trying to keep it submerged. But when we pay attention to what the emotion is asking us to do and we take the appropriate call to action, the emotion dissipates. And so again, our emotions are useful. If you've ever received a message otherwise, it was likely due to somebody else's difficulty with emotions. If somebody has difficulty processing or being with their own emotion, they may disparage yours because emotions are uncomfortable for them. But that doesn't mean that emotions themselves are negative per se. Again, I really want to reinforce that emotions are valuable. They give you useful feedback, and when you can look objectively at the feedback the emotion is giving you, you take that call to action, the emotion goes away. Now, earlier on, I had you imagine playing with that beach ball of emotions. I'd like you to go back to imagining that once again. Maybe you imagine you're kicking that beach ball around on a beach, playing volleyball with it. Maybe you're bouncing it on the water or tossing it to a friend. In whatever way makes sense to you while I'm speaking, I want you to imagine that the beach ball is no longer submerged and you're actually enjoying playing with it. Now, this may seem like an odd thing for you to imagine, but your subconscious, being the creative part of your mind and the part that manages all of your emotions, understands symbolism. It understands what we're asking it to do. We are asking your subconscious to once again befriend your emotions. We are helping it to understand in a language it can relate to that emotions are useful to us. They provide valuable feedback. They give us important information. By imagining that you're playing with that ball of emotions, your subconscious understands that you want it to befriend your emotions once again. And you'll notice that moving forward, you're able to step back and look objectively at any strong emotion that arises for you. You're able to recognize what that emotion is asking you to do. What is the correct call to action? What would help turn that indicator off, so to speak? Remember, we want to process our emotions in a healthy, sustainable way. This isn't about creating more negative emotions. For example, I'm not talking about looking at anger and deciding to seek vengeance on somebody who made you angry. To do so only generates more negative emotions. That's counterproductive. I'm talking about finding healthy ways to process whatever it was that made you angry, so as to make yourself feel better, resolve that negative emotion, feel happier and healthier overall. And so take some time to consider while I'm quiet what needs to be done to resolve that emotion in a healthy way. If there's more than one emotion, pick the one that's most dominant. Take some time to focus on it and allow to come to mind any insight, any ideas, any call to actions that that emotion is asking you to take. I'll give you some time in a moment to do so. Maybe you can process that emotion by doing something physical. Often exercise or physical activity helps get emotion out of our system. Maybe you can process that emotion by writing or speaking to somebody about your thoughts and emotions. Whether it's venting it to a friend, writing it in a journal, or otherwise speaking your emotions, when we speak them aloud, it gets them out of our minds and bodies. For some people, emotions can be processed by doing something creative. Getting those emotions out in a drawing, painting, a sculpture, or some other creative endeavor can be incredibly cathartic. Creativity can be a great way to express and process emotions. And so maybe it's possible to process emotions on your own. In other cases, it's important to take some action to resolve whatever the situation was that caused the emotion in the first place. Maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had. Maybe a boundary needs to be set. Maybe there's some other action that needs to be taken. And so in a moment, I'm going to be quiet, and in that quiet time, I want you to take some time to consider what would help you to process this strong emotion. What needs to be done either alone or externally to resolve it? What is the appropriate action that this emotion is asking you to take? What is the call to action? Again, think of your emotions like an indicator on the dashboard of a car trying to tell you something that needs to be done in order for that indicator to shut off. What would help to resolve the emotion you've been feeling? Take some time to consider that now while I'm quiet. Now, once you've figured out what needs to be done, I want you to imagine once again when I'm quiet, not quite yet. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye taking that action. Often, if we play something through in our minds the way we want it to go, it makes it so much easier to do it in the real world. Our subconscious doesn't know the difference between something real and something imagined. And so when we play it through the way we want it to go, the subconscious kind of buys it as though we've already done it, making it easier to do in our day-to-day life. And so taking some time now while I'm quiet to imagine taking the action that is necessary to take with regards to this emotion. Now you'll notice that as a result of this session, you are in fact befriending your emotions. You recognize that emotions are valuable, they contain useful information, they're a call to action. You're able to recognize and befriend your emotions. You're able to step back and look at them objectively and figure out what they're asking you to do. You are, in a sense, allowing that beach ball to float to the surface of the water. You'll notice that moving forward, you're more connected to your emotions in a healthy and positive way, able to be objective and understand what they're asking you to do, what the call to action is that they're asking you to take. You're able to find healthy and sustainable ways to process, vent, and express your emotions. And as a result, you feel lighter and more energized. It takes a lot of energy to keep that beach ball submerged. As a result of finding other ways to express or vent your emotions, that energy is freed up for other things. Holding emotion in our system, like holding that beach ball underwater, takes a toll on us. You may just notice you feel energized, full of life, full of vitality, that your physical body is feeling better as well. And now in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 up to 5. As I count up, you'll feel yourself returning to normal waking awareness. Mind waking up, body waking up, feeling better than before. When I say 5, you can open your eyes, refreshed, alert, awake, and aware, and ready to take on whatever else you've got on the go for the remainder of the day. Number 1, getting a great sleep tonight. While you sleep, your subconscious can continue to process and integrate these suggestions so they're even easier to follow. Number 2, feeling yourself returning now. Mind waking up, body waking up, feeling better than before. Number 3, returning to normal consciousness. Number 4, awake and alert. And when you're ready with the next number, you can open up your eyes. Number 5, all the way back now.